Right, so we're going to review the 2019 paper 2. If you've done the exam paper, we'll work through the correct answers. If you haven't, what I'd do is I'd turn the sound off and I would do the exam paper first by using the slides on here and then refer back to see if you've got the correct answers. Right, so question 1. List the following sports in rank order according to the number of people who participated in the UK aged 16 and above. So this is looking at the popularity of sports. So we have a very simple order of swimming, cycling, tennis and boxing. Any other order, you do not get a mark. Number 2, women and men's participation in sport at least once per week has increased overall since 2006. Name one other social group whose participation rate in sport has increased since 2006. So it says most gain the marks for this, with many identifying disability as a valid social group. Now, what we found here was some of you were too general. An example of this is one person put age. Well, age isn't a social group, but old age is. So we're looking at things such as disability, higher socioeconomic groups, black, Asian, minority, ethnic groups, white, British groups, lower or lower socioeconomic groups, disadvantaged, unemployed, young, children, pre-16, 16 to 21, elderly, students, teenagers, 16 to 18, minority faith groups, then family / single parents. So they're the social groups we're looking for. If you just put gender, you mostly wouldn't have got a mark, it would have been too vague. Once again, if you just put age, it was too vague, you had to actually go into a specific group. Right, number 3. Using practical examples, describe how 2 different types of discrimination reduce participation in sport. So, this is a question that carries 2 marks and is therefore looking for particular application. Many candidates score few marks for this question because they did not use any particular examples demanded by the question, or the examples were not types of discrimination that might reduce participation. Simply stating a fact, a football team with no black players is not an example of discrimination, but a football team who do not select any black players is a valid answer. So it's actually coming into discrimination. So we've also had from the marks team examples such as racism, e.g. a football team who only select white players, or a team selection using only white, black, or selecting only those from a racial group, or spectators being racist and footballer stops reduces participation. We've got religious discrimination, not allowing to swim wearing hijab, or a Muslim not being selected allowed to play for a rugby team. Examples showing sexism, males or females being able to gain access to a sport or information about a sport, e.g. a golf club that restricts female members, or a lack of media coverage of women's football. Examples showing cost expenses resulting in a lack of participation for lower socioeconomic groups, e.g. expensive to join a tennis club. Examples showing ageism, children not being allowed to play at a badminton club because they're too young. Homophobic or transphobic negative comments by fellow players in a rugby team. Examples showing discrimination against those with a disability, e.g. wheelchair users not being given the appropriate facilities at a sports centre. So you see that you can pick out a group and a type of discrimination and link it to a sport. That's the key, linking it to a sport. If you don't put a sport, you do not get a mark. Number 4, give 3 reasons why sportsmanship is highly valued. Now it says that this was answered very well, and that candidates have a good understanding of the concept of sportsmanship. So looking at the mark scheme, we're looking at so that the sport can be played fairly, keyword, or without cheating, foul play, aggression or deviance. Shows respect, once again keyword, for officials, fellow players, for the sport. Reduces the risk of injury to participants, to avoid or prevent injury, to ensure friendly, enjoyable play, avoid unpleasantness, makes you feel good, promotes the sport, encourages people to take part, watch the sport and give good image of the sport, or encourages sportsmanship or gives sport a good reputation, promote, create positive role models. If you just put good for the sport, that's too vague. If it shows good behaviour, once again too vague. Keep a flow of the game, easier to referee, once again too vague. Okay. Right, number 5. Stimulants are used by some performers to increase levels of performance. Give 2 other possible effects of stimulants on a sport's performance. So, although some candidates confuse stimulants with other performance-enhancing drugs, many could give valid effects or of stimulants on sports performers. One recurring error was that some candidates stated that stimulants increased reaction time rather than decreasing reaction time. So with that, if you increase reaction time, your reaction time becomes slower. Okay? So decreasing it means that it becomes quicker. So really for this, we're looking for answers such as excites, arouses the brain, body, or increases in adrenaline, increase in heart rate, or raises aggression, competitiveness, or raises confidence, or increases in anxiety, hype you up, increases attention, awareness, concentration, or help focus, to mask, delay, offset, decrease short-term fatigue, or increase the ability to train, play, compete longer, or increase in energy, endurance, stamina, or increase in the use of fats, decrease in reaction time, or increase speed of reaction time, or quicker reactions, decreases pain, increases possibility of CV disease, problems, heart attacks, or blood pressure, increases liver disease, results in addiction, increased risk of injury, insomnia, lack of sleep, poor sleep patterns. Now on the other side it says do not accept. Do not accept works as a stimulant or stimulants, because that is in the question. Increase in reaction time, because you've got it the wrong way around. Increase levels of performance, because it doesn't. Must state increase for 0.6, 7 and 8. Okay, so the ones we talked about last. Okay, number 6, deviance in sport involves fair play to gain an advantage over your opponent. Is this statement true or false? Draw a circle around the answer, and the answer is false. Right, number 7. One characteristic of a skilled performance in sport is predetermination. An example of this might be in preparing to serve. A tennis player knows where she wants the ball to land. Draw a line from each of the other characteristics of skill performed to the most suitable practical example. Now it says many candidates completed the diagram accurately. Those that scored few marks often confused the practical example of efficiency with the practical example of coordination. So that was the mistake comments that people made. So ever so simple, you have got coordination is going to the box directly opposite. A gymnast effectively is linking the different elements of a floor routine. You want aesthetic goes to the bottom box of a snowboarder, and efficiency goes all the way to the top, a rugby player wasting little effort in passing the ball to a fellow player. Number 8, skill can be classified based on how difficult they are. Where on the difficulty continuum would you place a hockey goalkeeper's diving save? Indicate by placing the figure X on the continuum. So many recognise that this skill is predominantly a skill towards the complex end of the continuum, showing that they understood how different decisions might be made by a goalkeeper to be able to save the ball. So it's saving a penalty for a goalkeeper is difficult because the ball can go high, it can go low, it can go either side, it can go at different speeds. So in order to save a goal, the skill is complex. So in order to gain a mark, any X near the complex end would gain a mark. Anything towards the simple end wouldn't. Give 2 reasons why an athletics coach might use goal setting with one of their athletes. So, most candidates scored the full 2 marks for this question, showing a good understanding of the importance of goal setting in sports performance. So what we're looking for is for exercise, training adherence, to stick to, continue training. To motivate, be dedicated to keep the training interesting, or to give something an aim for, or to train harder, or to increase intensity of training. Number 3, to improve optimism, performance, technique, fitness, health, skill, or to get their best time. To give information about progress, or to know how well the performer is progressing, performing, training, increasing levels of satisfaction, pride, or to improve confidence, to control stress, anxiety, arousal, to give focus, keep attention, or not to get distracted. It says do not accept to give them a goal or a target. So you can't just put to give them a goal, because that's already in the question. Okay, you can also use here, if you get confused, you can use the SMART principle, okay, to actually make sure that something is specific and that they're focusing on a certain point of the task, or a certain part of trying to improve a certain part of the technique. Okay, you might say that is it achievable, so their goals aren't unrealistic, which could demotivate them. So there's lots of things you could put here. What is meant by a selective attention when performing a sport skill? Some expert responses showing that the understanding of focus on important stimuli and ignoring or blocking out unimportant stimuli from the sports environment. Those that scored only 1 mark did not give the full meaning and relied just on focus rather than also the blocking out. So, for your 2 marks, to focus, concentrate on stimuli or on relevant information. The second part, to ignore, block out distractions, or to make redundant stimuli, or to filter out unwanted or irrelevant information. Do not accept, selectively attend, or to attend selectively. What to set your mind on is also too vague. So really we're looking at being able to focus on something specific, and to block out other distractions would get you 2 marks. Right, number 11. Describe 1 practical example of positive thinking for a sport performer. Now, those who did not score the marks here simply did not use a practical example. We asked for a practical example, people did not put one. You have to read the question carefully. So 1 mark for a suitable practical example of positive thinking for a sports performer. An example, a goalkeeper saying to himself that he will save the penalty, or a rugby player expecting to tackle their opponent effectively. So it's saying, I'm going to save this penalty, or thinking to yourself, I'm going to save this penalty before it is taken. Okay. Number 12, give one advantage and one disadvantage of verbal guidance when teaching a sport skill. A few candidates mixed up verbal with visual, but many scored a mark on both an advantage and a disadvantage. For example, that this type of guidance can motivate but could be misunderstood. Some candidates gave an excellent response related to information overload as a disadvantage. So we're looking for the advantage. It can be quick, it can be immediate, it can be help to develop, improve, fine-tune a skill. It can be motivating, encouraging, or increasing the person's confidence. It can help to develop a better understanding of the skill and get to know what is right and what is wrong with the skill. Now, a disadvantage of verbal guidance, information may be incorrect or misleading, can lead to misunderstanding, confusion, or could be misheard, or information is unclear, difficult for performer to create a mental picture or to know picture what is required, or different for kinesthetic learners. So if you learn by seeing, or if you learn by doing, if someone's telling you, you may not take it in. May be too much information to process, or information overload, or it's hard to describe. So trying to describe how to improve could be quite difficult. An example would be better. 13 is a multiple choice. Which one of the following is an example of manual guidance when learning a skill in sports? So the answer is D, and it says most candidates scored the mark for this multiple choice question, correctly identifying the example of manual guidance. So 14, what is meant by the term health? Many candidates had learned the definition well and so showed good practice in centres. Any topics in the specification that demand a definition may well be asked in the examination, and this is often worth a single mark. So our simple definition: a state of complete physical, mental / emotional and social well-being, or free from illness and injury, or a sound in body and mind, spirit, or a condition of which someone thriving and doing well. So I would actually go for a state of complete physical, mental, emotional and social well-being and free from illness and injury. Question 15. While regular exercise is good for us, there can be a risk of negative effects as well. Describe 2 ways in which participating in physical activity can have both a positive and negative effect on health. So this question involved 2 marks and so demanded more than a simple recall. Some misunderstood the question and only gave one way that physical activity can be positive and negative. Others who scored low marks often did not give a disadvantage. The best candidate scored a full 2 marks available by giving 2 positive points and then 2 negative points. So what we've got here is 2 marks from, so benefits: lead to higher levels of fitness, physical state of flexibility, strength or power, but can lead to injury. A benefit: can make you feel better, positive emotions or better body image or high self-esteem, but can lead to fatigue, tiredness or frustration or stresses in taking part. A benefit: make friends or positive social interactions or sense of belonging, but can narrow friendship patterns, reject friends who do not exercise, or could isolate the participants' friends or could lead to fallings out, internal conflict. Benefit: less illness, disease, but more soft tissue injuries, minor injuries, fatigue, soreness, aching, or breaking bones or fractures. 5. A benefit: better weight control, lost weight, avoid obesity, but might lead to eating disorders or too much muscle bulk or unwanted body shapes. Okay, number 16. One consequence of following a sedentary lifestyle is that bone density decreases. Is this statement true or false? Draw a circle around your answer, and the answer is true. Number 17. Give one emotional consequence of following a sedentary lifestyle. Once again, people did not read the word emotional. You need to link it to emotional in order to get your mark. Okay, become less happy or more miserable, depressed, lonely, decrease low levels of self-esteem, confidence, or feel less good about themselves, poor stress management or high stress levels or more anxious, have a poor self-image and feel that they are less attractive. Number 18. Give one social consequence of following a sedentary lifestyle. Again, some good responses which showed good answers of social consequences. For example, being isolated and becoming lonely. Now we found once again that people did not read the question properly and didn't link it to social. So once again, we're looking for not meeting people or being isolated or not being part of a group, team, a community or poor social life, but have any friends or fewer friends, hard to make friends, or becoming lonely or social anxiety or putting more stress on health provide services or difficulty with communication with others. It says do not accept cause for anxiety because it is too vague. Now number 19. Describe one type of physical activity where a performer requires a high level of carbohydrates and water. So most again scored 1 AO2 mark here, with a favourite being a long distance runner. Others merely put the name of an activity with no attempt to describe, e.g. marathon, and therefore did not score this mark. Candidates should be reminded that a description normally involves more than one word. You have to actually describe your answer. If you just wrote marathon, you can see the first word in the question is describe. If you just wrote marathon runner, you did not get a mark. So it could be an example, athletes running a marathon, or a boxer training competition, or a midfielder playing in football. Example of physical activity involving moderate or long-term exercise. Number 20. State one way that an appropriate level of protein is beneficial to a sports performer. So the benefit of protein are well known by candidates, most of whom scored their mark. So we're looking for here, helps with body, cell, muscle tissue growth, repair, build up your muscles, muscle hypertrophy, get stronger, or for production of hemoglobins, enzymes, hormones, and as a potential source of energy. Right, 21. Many top performing athletes in sport rely on sponsorship. What is meant by the term sponsorship? So many candidates stated that sponsorship often involves additional funding, but some did not state that this would come from a company, business, or other outside agencies, which meant they did not get a mark. So I'm looking for here, financial support gives money, help for equipment, kits, facilities, transport, a nutritional, scientific support, events to the events participation, by an outside agency. If you did not put outside agency or industry benefactor or a business or a brand or a company, you did not get the mark. Okay, give an example of a sponsor for a named sport. So once again, it's saying named sport. Okay, most candidates could link a sponsor with a named sport. This was well answered. So, an example of a sponsor in a sport, any suitable example, e.g. Adidas for tennis, or Barclays Premier League for football, or O2 for England Rugby Union. So it's looking for a sport and it's looking for the name. So for instance, we have got Adidas is linked to the English cricket team. Okay, so it's looking for the sport, someone who's responsible. You could go for Chevrolet, is linked to Manchester United. Right, point 3. Using practical examples from sport to describe 2 ways in which sponsorship might be an advantage to elite performer. So we're looking for advantage for elite performer. So this proved to be a challenging question for many candidates, many of whom did not give any sort of practical example for this question. Others swerved away from the question and wrote about advantages to the sponsor rather than the elite performer, which it asked for. So, answers which we are looking for: provides money for the performer to train or to improve, pays for coaches so the performer doesn't need to work, be a professional or enables performers to train, compete full-time, e.g. an Olympic athlete such as Mo Farah can train full-time. It's given an example. Free clothing equipment for wearing sponsored clothing equipment, e.g. Andy Murray receiving free tennis rackets. 3. Can fund transport, accommodation of facilities, entry fees, e.g. an athlete entering a national marathon competition. Can fund education, scholarships to colleges, university, private education, e.g. a top-ranked hockey player receiving a scholarship to study sports science at university. Can pay for medical support, treatment, e.g. a badminton player receiving physio treatment. Can encourage, motivate, e.g. to try and win sponsored tennis tournaments. 7. Give status, recognition, image, or become better known athletes or increase in fame, e.g. a squash player is better known because of being sponsored by Slazenger. So that whole practical example, once again, is vitally important. If you do not put it, you do not get a mark. Right, the next one. Many candidates could express, explain why sponsors invest large sums of money into sport. Candidates could express well that sponsors will invest large sums of money to get their products widely publicised for a single mark. And better candidates then went on to explain that this would then lead to increased sales, or the status of the products are increased by linking them with a successful performer for a second mark. So there it's actually saying that you're not just, the brand's becoming more publicised, and that publicity is leading to the brand selling more goods. So explain how commercialisation and high levels of sponsorship could have a negative influence on sport. Now, this was a difficult question for many candidates who struggled to explain their answers, and so to acquire the 2 AO3 marks for this question, weak candidates often scored 1 or 2 marks by stating, for example, that sports performers could get their sponsorship withdrawn, or that athletes feel under a lot of pressure to perform. The reason behind these points were only given by the better candidates. For example, linking the withdrawal of sponsorship with the wish that commerce to have their products associated with only successful performers. So we have quite a long list on the mark scheme. So athletes and teams may get sponsorship withdrawn, a loss of sponsorship if unsuccessful, if they get injured or misbehave, because commerce wishes to only associate themselves with products that are winning, are healthy, are wholesome, socially acceptable, high status activities, and certain personalities. 3. Too few narrow range of sports attract sponsorship, so many sports lack sponsorship or do not want to sponsor minority sports. 4. Because sponsors wish to get their products represented in the media as much as possible or to maximise publicity for their products. 5. Women, disabled, ethnic minority athletes get less sponsorship. 6. Because sponsors want to make their goods towards other groups, e.g. male sports, able-bodied or white majority groups. 7. Commerce and sponsors may reflect bad, undesirable image on the sport. So, for example, cigarette companies sponsoring a sport would be bad. Alcohol companies sponsoring sport might be bad. The next could be gambling companies who are sponsoring sport could be removed because once again could be seen as bad. Because products are unhealthy, undesirable, e.g. betting websites, which talks about alcohol, cigarettes. High level sponsorship, negative influence, too much pressure, workload on athletes to achieve, or too much attention given to the needs of sponsors, or athletes is distracted, or the lack of freedom, choice for athletes, or performance development, deviant behaviour, mental health issues, or lead to match fixing. Because sponsors want brands to be associated with success. 11. Sponsors have too much influence in how sport is played. Team selection rules, timings, breaks to fit advertise. For example, a lot of Premier League games used to take part at 3 o'clock. They're now at 12 o'clock. They're on Friday night. They're on a Saturday. They're on a Sunday. They're in the week. They're at different times, all because of the sponsors, because of Sky Sports. 12. Because sponsors want their brand advertised effectively, widely through the media, or want the game to be attractive, fast, free-flowing, to attract large audiences. So 22. Feedback is often used by sports coaches for performers to learn and perform movement skills more effectively. Describe 2 different sports situations when positive feedback can improve performance. So, those candidates who achieved both of these marks described fully 2 different sports situations with an example of positive feedback linked to further progress in skill learning or performance. Those who scored few in any either did not use a practical example or did not also give an example of positive feedback in the answer. So the best people gave 2 different sporting examples with 2 different types of feedback. So here, example for 2 marks. A rugby coach gives the player praise, encouragement, so positive feedback, leads to a better tackling technique, so improved performance. Another example, a netball coach tells the goal attack that their shooting is excellent, once again, positive feedback, and this leads to a consistent shooting accuracy, so once again, improved performance. So once again, 2 sports, 2 bits of positive feedback, such as well done, that's fantastic, which then 2 different types of improved performance, e.g. shooting better, becoming more consistent, or better tackling. B. Using practical examples from sport, describe knowledge of results and knowledge of performance as types of feedback. Those candidates who did not score very well with this question often simply repeated the question in their answer. For example, knowing your result does not describe effectively knowledge of results. Candidates should be encouraged to use their own words to describe or explain technical terms. The better candidates gave a valid description for each and could use practical examples to show that they could apply this to the question, worth 4 marks. So what we're looking for here, so knowledge of results, information, terminal feedback about the end product outcome of the competition, sports performance, or knows how they have done, or knowing the score of the game, e.g. a coach tells us Brynn her time completing the 100 metres race was 10 seconds. Okay, or a football team wins 2-0. That is the example, and then you put the explanation. It is the final result. Okay, knowledge of performance, informational technique, tactics, how well the movement skill has been executed or how well they have played. A table tennis coach tells her player that her forehand technique lacks adequate topspin. So it could be that I tell a centre half that he has had a poor game, he has missed tackles, his technique in passing was bad, so that's his performance. But knowledge result is that he's actually won 2-0. So the knowledge result is we did fantastically well because we did 2-0. The knowledge of performance is actually you didn't play very well because of these reasons. So C, using a practical example for sport, explain what is meant by negative feedback and evaluate its effectiveness in motivating sports performers. So this was very well answered by many candidates, showing good understanding of negative feedback and its uses. Those that scored low in the evaluation often only gave advantages or disadvantages, whereas an evaluation usually involves stating different sides of an argument. Some candidates state that negative feedback would motivate athletes which did not score a mark because motivating is in the question. Candidates are again reminded not to use material from the question as part as their credit score in response. So, C. What we're looking for in the mark scheme. So, define a negative feedback. The information about unsuccessful performance, weakness, what went wrong, outcome or losing final score, critical information about performance and outcome, a destructive information about performance or outcome. So pretty much you could just put the coach telling the performer that he had a terrible game. That is negative feedback. An example, a coach telling a tennis player that this last serve showed poor technique, and other suitable examples. So your negative feedback is talking about giving a piece of poor information or a piece of information which is unsuccessful or which is weak. Then your example is actually a sporting example saying that something went bad. Then your evaluation is this could spur a player on to a better performance or to improve a higher level performance with response, encouraging them, or it might result in a lowering of confidence, lowering self-esteem, and might embarrass the performer. Okay, so it's given a definition, then an example, and then evaluation in order to get all of your marks. So this next question involves understanding a graph. Okay, so participants in physical activity have been found to affect mental health and well-being. Poor mental health and well-being amongst young people is a continuing problem. The graph shows in figure 23 shows a percentage of 5 to 19-year-olds suffering from mental disorders based on data from a survey by the NHS. Now, this question was answered quite well. It was just a simple calculation you had to make. So we've got, using figure 23, calculate the difference between the percentage of 17 to 19-year-old boys and the percentage of 17 to 19 boys and girls suffering from mental health disorders. So once again, just a little bit of math, so bring your calculator, was 13.6. Now for number 2, the percentage of 5 to 10-year-old boys and the percentage of 5 to 10-year-old girls suffering from mental health disorders was 5.6%. It's nice to put percent, but you did not need the percentage thing, but always put them in anyway, it's good practice. Describe 2 other trends or patterns which the data in figure 23 shows. So this was answered well by many candidates who often scored the full 2 marks. Candidates who carefully read the graph when its corresponding data was able to extrapolate the key trends. Others misread the graph and wrote about levels of participation rather than the percentage of young people suffering from mental health disorders. Centres have obviously been working with candidates to analyse data, and this has resulted in many candidates coping well with this type of data-based question. Okay, so in order for us to gain full marks on this question, we're looking for boys and girls. The percentage of all boys and girls with disorders increased from 5 to 10 to 11 to 16-year-olds. The percentage of boys and girls are similar at age 11 to 16. 3. The percentage of boys in the youngest age group, 5 to 10, is much higher, nearly double the percentage for that group of girls. The percentage of girls aged 17 to 19 is twice as high as the percentage of boys in the same age group. They all would get you marks. Girls. The percentage for girls aged 17 to 19 is most or much higher than any other group in either gender. The percentage of girls with disorders increases by age group with age. Now boys, the percentage for boys is fairly stable across the age groups. The percentage of cases in boys goes down from the age group 11 to 16 to 17 to 19. See, so it's got a little star by it again. Regular exercise and a balanced diet often results in physical and emotional benefits. Using practical examples, describe the emotional benefits of participating in physical activity. Explain how regular exercise and a balanced diet results in long-term benefits on the heart. So this question includes 2 AO1 statement objectives, 2 AO2 assessment objectives, and 2 AO3 assessment objectives. This question indicates by an asterisk on the question paper involving the assessment of the quality of written communication as well as describing emotional benefits of participating in physical activity and explaining long-term benefits of regular exercise and a balanced diet on the heart. The question includes a synoptic assessment link required by the specification. So linking emotional benefits from Unit 2 to long-term health benefits of the heart from Unit 1. Many candidates were able to describe at least 1 or 2 emotional benefits and at times using valid practical examples. Candidates were given mostly well prepared for this type of extended question, with many now showing some planning before writing. The better answers then reached level 3 in the levels mark scheme, addressed all parts of the question, including using practical examples to show emotional benefits and referring both to exercise and diet when explaining long-term benefits on the heart. The very best answers, which scored a full 6 marks available, covered all the assessment objectives in detail and showed excellent development of each point. These responses included several practical examples to help describe the emotional benefits of participating in a range of different physical activities. The lower ability candidates often did not give any practical examples and only gave 1 or 2 emotional benefits and were well underdeveloped. These candidates dealt with superficial with the second part of the question relating to the heart, only stating perhaps that exercise would cut down on coronary heart disease, but with little further development. Many included the effect on the respiratory system, blood vessels, and muscles, which was not required for this question. The lower ability candidates were often unable to write accurately and showed too many spelling and grammar errors. So, for this one here, you're looking at going through raising self-esteem and confidence and going into a lot of detail about feeling good. Winning a tennis match would be an example. Finishing an exercise class and feeling good about it. Having a high opinion of yourself because you've started to exercise. Having higher levels of self-awareness, self-efficiency because of the sport, your exercise achievements. After scoring a century in cricket, feeling that you are good and the best player. Okay, control anxiety, manage stress, so feeling calmer or calming the nerves, managing stress in everyday life, achieving optimal amount of arousal, depending on your personal and ability and type. So examples, playing squash can release tension. Exercises can help put things into perspective and can help you forget about your troubles. So the next one is achieve a better self-image. So keeps you feel that you look good, you lose weight. So after weight training, you feel more toned is an example. Okay, the next one is feeling happy, joyful, or enjoying yourself. So release of happiness hormones, endorphins. Exercise, sport, non-serious. Consequences so that you enjoy yourself. So playing a five-a-side football after work one evening can be enjoyable. Okay, the next one we can go to regular exercise can increase health, fitness on the heart, so less likely to have diseases, illnesses, premature death, less strain on the heart becomes stronger contractions, hypertrophy of the heart, increasing cardiac output, resting stroke volume, decreasing resting heart rate, increasing capillarization, moderate and low intensity in general, best type of exercise, duration, intensity of exercise to improve heart health depends on age, level of fitness, medical condition, energy expenditure through exercise can help control amount of body fat, levels of cholesterol, or avoid overweight and obesity. Okay, and the last one, having a diet that contains the right amount of nutrients increases health of heart, so less likely to experience heart disease problems. Balance relates the amount of food, nutrition intake and amount of energy expenditure. Vitamins, minerals protect against heart disease. Proteins help to build and repair cells that help to maintain a healthy heart. The right balance of nutrients guards against obesity, overweight, which could cause heart disease or heart problems. Okay, so that exam paper, we've learned that it is giving lots and lots of sports examples. If it says sports examples, if you do not give it, you do not give a mark. If you do not go into enough depth, you do not get marks. Any problems, come into class and we can work them out from there. Thanks.